UFC heavyweight Cyril Gane has recently been robbed during his match against Spivak in a UFC Paris card just this weekend. So what's really interesting about this particular case is that it seems that the people that robbed Cyril Gane knew that he was going to be gone out fighting. And what better time to hit someone and rob them when they are preoccupied with the likes of fighting another man in a cage. And that's literally what happened here. So what I got to say about the Paris and the French culture of crime, I mean, you got to understand, this has happened to a lot of celebrities that have gone to Paris, let alone somebody who is a local with the likes of Cyril Gane. Now, why is this significant in terms of how celebrities have been robbed before? Well, because you got to understand, right? Europe right now is at an economic crisis. And with economic crisis that goes on in the Bay Area of California out here, of New York, of London, and Paris, there's just going to be a prevalent crime wave that's going to hit people in ways that they would have never imagined at better times, or let's say in times of a better economy. Sure, there's people out there that are always going to rob someone, but what I'm trying to say is that it's going to become even more prominent when you're dealing with, let's say, a situation of an economic crisis that's going on not just in France, not just in England, not just in America, but all throughout the world. And as you know, even, what's her name? Kim Kardashian and Kanye West were robbed at gunpoint in Paris. So this is something that this particular part of the world and this particular city really knows its way around when it comes to organized crime and doing hits and doing robberies and maybe even sometimes home invasions, which, by the way, was not the case here, because guess what? Can you imagine if you try to home invade the likes of Cyril Gane? I mean, good luck with that. If you're not John Jones, you're going to have some serious problems in your hands. And if you don't have a gun and you're not proficient at weapons, you have no chance whatsoever to do anything to this man. So he lost about a combination of $160,000 worth of items in his house. That could have been anywhere from jewelry, perhaps maybe TVs, video games, home systems, and maybe even clothes, designer wear. And as you know, the French have great taste in designer wear, so you can only imagine what had happened to Cyril Gane as a result of that. So, like I said, this has happened with many celebrities in that part of the world, and on top of that, this has happened to a lot of people who have just a little bit more money than everybody else. Unfortunately, this had to happen with Cyril Gane in the most vulnerable time of his life. You see, a lot of people don't realize that when you're in that cage, you're very vulnerable in more ways than one. There are some fighters out there that say, well, when I'm out there in the ring or in the cage or in the mat or any form of a competition and any settings, they feel they're at their most comfortability because you can leave all of that behind. Rashad Evans even said something to the effect where whatever problems I had going on in my life, when I walked in that cage, nothing else mattered. Nothing. But one of the things that you got to understand is if you're Cyril Gane, that's not the case, is it? Because he had no idea that this was going on. He had no idea that this was going to happen. And unfortunately, there's a lot of scumbags out there in the world. And again, I don't mean to sound like a pseudo-liberal in any kind of way, but you got to think, okay, is this one of those situations where these people are scumbags, or is it just the circumstances of poverty, of destitution, of trying to get to your next meal? Because you got to ask yourself what drives people to do this. Nonetheless, it's still not right, because you just can't go out there and violate people for their hard-earned money that they have made, over the years, especially with Cyril Gane coming from a very poor family, just like any other fighter out there, and their stories and everything that you hear. This is the unfortunate reality of all things, because you're supposed to be free when you're at the cage, but when you're in there, honestly, you're kind of vulnerable. You're vulnerable because you're naked to the world. And I don't mean naked completely, obviously, down to your trunks. That's naked enough for some people. But nonetheless, you are exposed to the world and everything that you are displaying, meaning that you're displaying your skills. So how are your skills going to match up with this guy? All of that is being exposed. How are you going to deal under pressure? All of that is being exposed. How are you going to deal with the crowd that is either for you or against you? All of that is being exposed. And unfortunately, when you're in there, you can't think about anything that is going on outside of the world. You can't think about your family problems. You can't think about your bills. You can't think about all these other things that are bothering you. And that's the worst thing of all, because if people are out plotting and trying to rob you, there's really nothing that you can do other than what you're doing in front of you right then and there against Spivak, which is fight him in the cage and nothing else, because you can't do anything else. All you can do is hope that either your homeboys are watching your house, or maybe the police, or some sort of security measures to prevent things like this from going on. Unfortunately, man, I feel very bad for Cyril Gane. He didn't deserve this. And this goes to tell you about all the situations that they have going on in France with the rampant crime that is happening. And a lot of it is just due to poverty. But still, it's no excuse, even though it is the circumstance and it is the explanation to why these actions happened. It's unfortunate nonetheless. People go inside of a cage to fight for a living for the simple fact that they want to make the most money that they can for their family. They want to provide for whatever it is that they're able to provide in this game that has many opportunities to get out of destitution, to get out of the ghetto, to get out of being broke, and being able to do what you want to do in terms of financial freedom. And to think that being in the cage is probably one of the safest things that you can do. But while you're doing that, you're distracted with all the things that are going on outside, all the things that are going on in the streets. Now, what had happened here? Is it that Cyril Gane has beef with some people that somehow led to all of these things happening? Or is it just the fact that he's a high-profile guy and they know that he was going to fight at this particular time, and while he's fighting, we can go in there and do the damn thing? Which is it? Type on the comments below, like and subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. I'm out.